the cool thing about it is it's like opening up your own business every time you walk into the casino, and you can shut down the business anytime you want. There's different
Hmm.
facets of the business, right? You have customers and you have competitors, and sometimes they're the same people, but most of the time they're the opposite people. The customers are the people that play bad, and you want to make them happy.
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon, and with me,
Christine Butler.
and the guest we have today, I don't even know where to start. It's a whirlwind.
Know when to hold up.
Oh, there you go. Nice. I wasn't even intentional, but he's a fractional CFO that helps businesses with acquisitions and
Yes.
turnarounds. But the other things that he's into will blow your mind. He's a comedian. He's a musician. He is a 4 times World Series of Poker gold bracelet winner and the World Series of Poker Player of the Year and a published author, Tom Schneider. Tom, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Excited
It's
for being with you
Did
guys.
we get it all? Like, that's a long list.
I think you got most of it. You got most of it. That's enough.
awesome. Well, I'm really excited to hear your extraordinary story. You were nominated by Aaron Bear, who thinks you're extraordinary. How do you know Aaron?
So Aaron and I met. We got introduced by Jason Rose, who's a big marketing, advertising guy in town, and I really was impressed with Aaron and all the stuff that he thinks about and does. He thinks at a different level, and I've stayed in touch with him and followed his career, and just enjoy watching him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, he was hyping us up for today. He's like, I'm so excited that Tom agreed to do it, and it's awesome that you're here. I don't really know where to start, but let's start with your book because I think that tagline is going to kind of frame up the conversation. The title is
Okay.
"Oops, I won too much money." The tagline is,
Winning wisdom from the boardroom to the poker table.
mm.
Well, I like
So-
that. That's good. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So, how did you realize that poker was something that you were actually like going to be a champion at? And
So I
not just a
started
hobby?
young. My family, was from Indiana, and people would get together. My parents would get together with their parents. They would drink, play cards, and at a very young age, I wanted to play, and they would let me play, and I would just start winning money because they really didn't care. It wasn't very big money for them, but it was big money for me. And
Right.
I started playing gym with my dad on the golf course, and beat these guys. They weren't very good players, and I just found out that I had some sort of affinity to play cards, calculate odds, and watch people and determine what their tells were all about. And so then, at the age of it was kind of interesting. I had a conversation with my dad going into college, and I said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't even know what these majors are. And he said, what do you really want to do? And I said, well, I want to play poker. And my dad was a doctor, so that's a weird answer for a doctor, but he knew that I loved poker. And his question to me, which I'll never forget, he said, what are you doing to prepare yourself for that? And I'm like, oh, I never even thought of it that way. So I started getting all the material I could to read. And back then there weren't many poker books. And if they were pretty bad, but they might have added a few concepts for poker that I hadn't thought of, or I started thinking about differently than even the book. And, back then there just wasn't much information. So the idea of sitting and thinking about poker versus playing poker kind of set me apart.
Mm.
You remind me a lot of my 13-year-old son, Liam Goodwin.
Mhm.
That little boy loves poker. Funny enough, Forbes and Aaron taught them how to play poker this summer with goldfish.
Yeah.
It'll be a memory for them.
He slow rolls you, man.
Yeah, I don't like
there's no
slow rollers.
etiquette.
I'd have a problem with him. He'd end up in the bottom of the ocean somewhere if he did that to me.
That's what we tell him. So, yeah, we need you over to help us.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what's it like being a professional poker player?
So I was a full-time professional poker player for 15 years. I still did some consulting while I was doing that. I did consulting with a gaming company, 2 gaming companies, basically calculating all of the things that you need to have in order to get a game approved by the gaming board. So,
Okay.
calculating house edge and hit frequency and pay tables and things like that to make the game fun, also to make it provide house and edge. But I played poker, I would say 15 years full time. And the cool thing about it is it's like opening up your own business every time you walk into the casino, and you can shut down the business anytime you want. There's different
Hmm.
facets of the business, right? You have customers and you have competitors, and sometimes they're the same people, but most of the time they're the opposite people. The customers are the people that play bad, and you want to make them happy, right? And so I think a little bit of what's happened with poker is that people are getting upset with bad players for beating them, and they're going to do that. They're going to get lucky. They're going to call you with a hand they shouldn't, and they're going to quote suck out on you, and you have to accept it because they're going to do that over time, and you're going to win over time. And I think what's happened with poker a little bit lately is that these bad players, they decide they'll go to the blackjack table where they're treated better, and, I think we've lost the idea that they're customers.
Mm, mhm. So then, that's a really interesting approach. So, like, you literally were helping design games.
Mhm.
So it seems like this was all like a one big math problem to
It
you.
is,
That
it is.
yeah,
It's one
okay.
big math problem. Life is one big math problem, and
Yeah.
business is one big math problem. And people, you have to include people into that calculation, right? Because that's the fuzzy math, right? Where when you include people, it's not quite 1 plus 1 equals 2. And so that's the part that I enjoy as well.
Mm. So how do you include people? Like, I love this, example that you're given, but help me understand, like, people
Well,
are irrational.
people are irrational, but hopefully, if you're running a business, you've got rational people in your
Mhm.
business, and you try to get rid of the irrational ones because it's hard to do business with irrational people, and it's hard to count on people who are irrational. And so, that's a big part of it, right? Is to surround yourself with people who the goal is to make a great decision. It doesn't matter whose decision it is. It doesn't matter who came up with it. The goal is good decision over good decision over good decision, repeating, which is what poker's all about, right? If you make great decisions over with the limited information that you have, you'll win. And that's the same with business. And with surrounding yourself with good people who have the same goal, it's not whose decision, the goal is that was a great decision. That was a great meeting, right? And so you come out of there every time you do that and you're going to have a winning team.
Mm. So how does that philosophy play into your, like, your strategy role as the fractional CFO to these people who are either selling their business or turning it around?
So the great thing about doing fractional CFO work is that most of the people that hire you realize that they don't know what they're doing when it comes to, or they have limited knowledge related to what I'm doing, and they really respect my opinion and follow it. And that's a big win for me because I've worked in places where they might continue to make bad decisions, and it's very frustrating when you can't count on your leadership to make good
Mhm.
decisions or at least use your guidance. And over and over, you're going to end up losing, which has happened a couple times to me. But having these people hire me, they know they need the help, and that's a big win for me.
In the game of life and business, in any, I guess, plane that we're talking about, how do you determine what the right decision is?
Mm,
So I usually start with math, and that's just because you can quantify it, and then you
Yeah.
have to add the other variables. Like I said, people.
Mhm.
What are the other unintended consequences of making this decision potentially? And but I start with math. That's my go-to. I usually create a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. And the end result, my goal is to get it so that the person I'm talking to gets the answer, right? They get how I flowed through to make the
Mhm.
decision, and they get the answer, and once I can do that for them, it's easy to execute. And the idea is that if you can show somebody how they're being impacted by the decisions they're making,
Mhm.
it's easy for them to pull the trigger, right? And if you can't do that, which is what a lot of CFOs can't do, is present it in such a way that the decision is obvious, right? And I was asked recently whether this guy should buy a $750,000 boat through cash, or should he finance it? And I said, okay, I'm going to run a spreadsheet. He said, why are you going to do that? And I go, well, do you want the answer? He goes, yeah, you're the CFO. You give me the answer. And, I spent probably 20 minutes on it and found out that it would be from a cash flow perspective, he'd have a 200,000 additional cash flow, or present value of that cash flow. And so that was worth let's say the $150 he paid me to determine
mm,
that.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it becomes an easy decision, right?
Yeah, and it looks or it seems to me like there's a lot of curiosity
mm,
that comes before the decision, right? I mean, you kinda look at things differently, like, the curiosity is like, should you finance? Should you put money down? It's all out of curiosity,
Right.
How do you lead someone with that curiosity?
Mm.
Well, I think it's, they don't know the answer, right? And it's great that they have curiosity, and that's what I'm here to help them do, so that I can just say, here's the answer. It's black and white. It's a simple decision. Now they can go execute with confidence. And I think a lot of owners don't have confidence in their decisions because I was working with this home build or the I'm sorry, a furniture builder, and they had I put together a P&L and a cash flow for this one thing that they were doing, and showing
Mm,
them that from a P&L perspective and from a cash flow perspective, it's costing you X number of dollars per month. And that's going to result in an $840,000 loss over the course of the year. So you have to get out of this division as fast as you possibly can. This is how much it's going to save you. And one of my favorite analyses I did, which is kind of a really unusual thing, is I was working for Loudmouth Golf. John Daly wears their clothes, really wild clothes,
Hmm.
and I actually wore their clothing on at the poker table when I was on TV, mostly just the sport coats. And so, but they had a customer, Zappos, that was selling their merchandise as well, and their largest customer was their largest discount, right? And so their revenue per item was the lowest of any of the customers. And selling online direct to consumers, your margin is double. And so I basically said, I'm going to do an analysis because I think we should get rid of our biggest customer. And they're like, you're insane. And I said, okay. I came back and I boiled it down to, can we sell 26% of the units that we sell to Zappos? Let's say you sell 100 units to Zappos. Can we sell 26 units to our direct to consumer customers? They all said, yes, we can do that. Like, okay. So now what was happening is our customers were going to our website. They were looking at the clothing, and then they were going to Zappos because Zappos had free shipping, right? So we were losing
mm.
customers out because of that. So they said, yes, we can sell at least 26% of the units that we're selling to Zappos. And and we made the decision to say, hey, I'm sorry, Zappos, we're no longer selling to you. And then we picked up, it was a small company. We picked up a couple $100,000 with a margin because of that decision. So, but if you can boil it down to one factor like that, it makes it so easy for people to make decisions. So
Right.
that's the goal.
It sounds like the goal is to have people feel confident in
Mm,
making a decision, right? So
mhm.
that they can see it, like you said, black and white, and then you
Yeah.
know what to do. I'm curious, what role does confidence have in poker?
Oh, it's virtually everything. You can walk up to a poker table, even if you're not a poker player, and you can look at the guy who you want to pick on because he is just beaten down. And
Oh,
now he's gonna be easier to bluff. He's gonna be easier to pick on. He's the guy I wanna have pots in because I can be a little more, versatile in my play, as opposed
mm,
to the guy that's up a lot of money and has incredible confidence sitting up in his seat, and
yeah.
he's talking, and those are the guys that I don't wanna play against. And it's different every time, right? It could
Yeah.
be a great player that's just getting the crap beat out of him, but he's the guy that you wanna pick on because he thinks he can't win. And that's the time to leave when you're at that point when you think you can't win. You gotta get up
Get out.
from the table because your mind is screwed up, right? And some people, if they get down early, they're in big trouble because they can't turn that mindset around.
Mm, I am very facially expressive, and so I feel like I would just like completely suck at poker in that setting. But it just feels so fascinating because it's the little micro movements that you're doing. It's a mind game. I would just love to be there live and watch it, just to feel that energy.
Oh, there's a lot of energy in a poker table, a lot of energy, and sometimes it's not good energy. And sometimes you're sitting next to a person that you can't stand, right? And
Mm,
so that's what I liked about poker is that if I didn't want to be there, I
yep.
could leave. If you
Hmm.
can't do that at your job, right? You might be working with somebody that you can't stand and you're sitting in a meeting with them. Nothing you can do. But if you're sitting there with a guy that you can't stand, you can either beat the crap out of him by exploiting him, by trying to find tells and that kind of thing, which I've done a few times, several times in my career. That's my whole career. But it's usually not people that I can't stand. So I try not to sit there and play with people that I don't like because
Yeah.
it's not my idea of fun.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a deeper question. So I know
Okay.
that there's a parallel between gambling addiction, poker, all that. I mean, once you get to a level where you're so good at poker, how do you not let it just overtake you? If you're winning that much money
Mm.
and you're doing so well and you're up on your luck, how do you
Right.
not get sucked into that addiction?
Well, the idea is that when you're playing poker, if
Yeah.
you're higher skilled than the people you're playing with, then it's not gambling. Now
Okay.
you're in essence like the house, right? Because you have an edge.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
And the house has an edge. Every time you sit down to play a slot machine or a table game, they have an edge. It would be like me saying, "Let's flip coins, and every time you win, I'll give you $100, and every time I win, you give me 105." Now, I'll do that all day long with you. Now, you might run really good, and you might get up on me, but I will do that if you're willing to do that, 8 hours a day for the rest of your life. I'll destroy you, right? And so that's the idea as a poker player. If you have an edge over the people that you're playing with, then you might lose that session. But as long as your game selection is good, you're playing against people that are worse than you, and you know whether they're worse than you, or you know whether they're really good or they're just, so you analyze that, and that's, if I'm the eighth best player in the world and I'm sitting at a table with the top seven, I've got bad game selection, right?
Hmm.
Because I shouldn't be there. But the whole goal is to try to find good games, which are actually not as easy to find these days because there's so much education about poker. And the bad players have either gotten educated or quit. And so what we consider a good game now versus what a good game was 15 to 20 years ago is totally different. The skill gap was like this, and the skill gap is like this. And so there's less
Mm.
there's less money in poker. So that's consequently I don't play poker as often as I used to because there's not as much value in it.
That's a very unique perspective. I didn't think of that. I mean, we're so used to talking about AI and how that's, adapted over the years. But now that you say that, poker, I mean, you're so right. The access that we have to knowledge is like at the finger, like
Mm.
it's in a snap, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I see that kind of in every field,
You
right?
said they either got educated or they quit.
Yeah.
Right, right. I mean, like, you can't keep taking a beating and getting told how
Yeah.
bad you play, right? If you're
Yeah.
winning and you get told, which I got told how bad I played for a long time because I played differently than everybody. I played hyper aggressively, and people said, "Oh, you play so bad," right? But I would beat them all the time. I'm like, I know, you're right. I'm just lucky. And that's the whole idea, right? Why would you sit there and tell people, "Hey, you play bad. You're only getting 3-to-1 odds and you're a 10-to-1 underdog. Why did you put your money
Mhm.
in?" I'm not going to say that, right? And that goes back to the customers and competitors. First of all, if they're my competitors, I'm not going to inform them about how I think about poker, and they might not think about poker the way I do. And if they're my customers, I don't want them thinking about poker at all. I want to sit there and talk about the basketball game or their family or tell jokes or, make them laugh. Because we had a guy at a game that would lose $25,000-$30,000 and just have the best time of his life. And he would play
Mm,
2 to 3 times a week. And he would, we'd sit there and crack jokes. That's what you want. That's my customer. And he was there for that experience.
yeah.
As soon as, people were starting to talk about how bad he played, he had no interest in hearing about that. He knows he plays bad.
Mm.
He thinks I'm luckier than him.
Mm.
That's great. That's
Mhm.
what I want.
Mm.
You
The
Mhm.
don't go to
perfect
your
customer.
competitor in business and go down and say, "Hey, you're doing this all wrong. Did you calculate your margin correctly?" You don't do that. Same kind of concept.
Yeah, that makes a lot
That's
of
funny.
sense.
Well, finding the edge. So I'm curious, Tom, like, you have so many different facets to you. How do you find your edge? Like, how
Mhm.
did you find the things you were good at, or choose to follow them?
Yeah, I think from a financial perspective, I just, I went to school and got a degree in finance, then went back and got enough hours to have a degree in accounting. And I just have always been fascinated. I'm really good at, I like helping people make money. That's something I love to do. I don't know. My friend told me, he said, "I would let you manage my money, but not yours." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right." You know,
Yeah.
I'm like what is it? The shoemaker's son who has bad shoes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's funny. But so like these, I guess what I'm asking is like when your dad asked you, what do you really want to do?
Hmm.
How have you found these different talents that you've been called to? Because you also do music, you also do comedy. You wrote a book. Like how when a talent like proverbially called you, how did you receive that call?
Yeah, I'll give you an example in music. So I was working for Loudmouth Golf, and the CEO could sing, and I could sing. I didn't really know I could sing until I was in my 30s, and I went to do karaoke, and somebody's like, "Wow, you can sing." And I'm like, "I thought everybody could sing," right? You just kind of think everybody can sing. And so, anyway, I'm working at Loudmouth Golf, And I said, we should go on America's Got Talent and wear full loudmouth suits. And if you don't know what loudmouth is, especially back in the day, it was crazy stuff, like just insane clothing. And I said, not to try to win, but just to promote our brand, right? And he goes, well, we got to have a song. And I go, I'll write a song. So I'd never written a song before. So at the time, I was recording audio for a poker TV show that I was a host of, and in a studio. And right at the same time, it's called Brick Road Studios. And right at the same time, I said to this guy, I'll write a song. I was recording audio in the studio and I said, hey, do you do music here? And he goes, yes, that's what I do. I don't do poker audio. This is the first poker audio I've ever done. And he's got he's got guitars hanging on. And it was a stupid
Nice.
question, right? And so anyway, I'm going to write a song. I want to record it here. And he goes, okay. He goes, a lot of people say that. A lot of people don't do it. So I wrote a song called The Most Fun You Could Have with Your Pants On. And because that's their deal is clothing, right? So
Mhm, mhm.
and cool, crazy pants. So I wrote that and I'm like, this was fun. And I didn't play guitar at the time. So then I wrote 5 more songs, recorded them on a CD, like professional musicians and all of that. I gave it to a guy that brought Garth Brooks to market, and he goes, "I'd like to go to the studio with you." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." So
Mhm.
he was the producer, and anyway, and he goes, "You got to learn how to play guitar." I'm 52 at the time, didn't know, I never played guitar. So, I have a belief that, if you commit or you say you want to do something, let's say you say you want to learn French, and I say, okay, what class are you taking? You go, I'm not taking that class. Don't tell anybody that you want to learn French. You don't, right? So I didn't tell anybody I wanted to learn guitar, but I committed. I said, I'm going to commit 5 minutes a day to learn how to play guitar. And if I can't do that, then I'm not going to tell anybody I want to learn how to play guitar. So I committed
Yeah.
5 minutes a day, and 5 minutes turned to 20, 20 turned to an hour turned to 2 hours. And, I would play 2, 3 hours a day. I'd have a guitar in the bedroom. I'd have a guitar everywhere so that I had no excuses. Right. So I'm a firm believer in not telling people what you want to do. I'm a firm believer in committing 5 minutes a day to what you say your passion is. And if you can't do that, then don't tell anybody that's your passion.
I love that. I also love the guy who just whips out the guitar at any time, so
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't wanna do that at a party. You don't wanna be that guy at the party that brings his
Why
guitar in.
not?
Yeah,
Karaoke.
I'll bring it if people ask me, um, but
Yeah,
anyway, yeah,
especially if
so
you just took everyone's money in poker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
"Hey,
But
guys,
that's
you
the
wanna hear a
idea though,
song?"
right? As soon as you really say you wanna do something, then commit to it. And you might
Mhm.
find out a month later, that's really not my thing, and that's okay, but you haven't gone around and told everybody what you think you wanna do and all that. So, and then I decided to write a book because I had seen some books out, and I didn't think there were any books more about the stories. There were some books about the stories, but more lessons I've learned and things that, and so I started just taking notes on my phone. Every time I'd see something and I'd see how somebody's doing something or how I did something, and I go, that makes a good chapter. And the idea of the book was, oops, I won too much money. I had I was sitting there playing poker with a guy, and there's a thing called cross booking. So let's say you're playing, 100, 200, and it's a smaller game than you want to play, and there's another guy that has a smaller game than you want to play. Then if you cross book, if I win 10,000 and he loses 10,000, then he owes me 20,000. So you
Mm.
basically are booking the result, right? And vice versa. So I beat him out of, I can't remember the number, but like $13,000 that he owed me. And I got this feeling one day later, he didn't have the money on him. He said, I'll call you tomorrow. Didn't call me, didn't. And I called him, texted him, nothing. And I got this gut feeling that said, he's not going to pay me. And I sold the debt the very next day to somebody who goes, oh, he'll pay you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I sold it for 50%. And they collected 50% 3 years later, finally.
Mm.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
but the idea was behind that chapter was that you can beat somebody out of so much money that it changes their level of integrity. Had I beat
Mm.
him out of $3,000, he would have found a way to pay me, but I beat him out of
Mhm.
too much money.
Mm.
And, that level
Fascinating.
is different for everybody, right? And,
Mhm.
that was the number for him that he decided he didn't care about his reputation for $13,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's an
Mm.
intense concept, right? You're sitting in a circle of guys and you don't know what they're betting. They might be betting their mortgage. So that
That
like
happens a lot. That happens a
yeah,
lot.
Mm,
It's called
mhm.
yeah.
bankroll on table, which
Bankroll
means
on table.
bankroll on table, which means you've got you're sitting down in this game and you've got to win, right? That's
Mhm.
also
Mm,
nice to know, right? That's
yeah,
also nice to know.
right.
So,
Mhm.
just little things like it's a cool story. I'd go to the World Series of Poker, and if I see somebody that I don't know, especially at the main event, and I see them wearing a Nebraska t-shirt. I go, "Oh, you're from Nebraska. Cool. Like, you been out here before?" No, it's my first time. I go, "I see you're married. What's your wife think of that?" He goes, "Oh, she's not happy that I'm here. She just thinks I'm going to blow the money." I'm like, "Oh, that's great news." Right. So
Yeah,
now
right.
what do I know about him? I know that his goal is to get on the break and call his wife or text his wife, say, "Honey, I'm still
Mhm.
in." Right. His goal isn't to win. His goal is to not have his wife say, "See, I told you so."
Mm,
And so now I know if he has a marginal hand, I can bluff him off of that hand because his goal is to call his wife or text his wife and say, "Honey, I'm still in." Right. And
mm.
so now I've just learned a lot about this guy without playing a hand against him.
Tom, you've done so many things in your life. Have you ever thought about working for like the first 48, solving crimes, cold cases,
I
maybe?
don't know if I'd be any good at that. I don't think that's my thing, but I do watch a lot of those shows because I find them fascinating. The
Mm,
I'm
clues and the
not
ways that they
surprised.
solve those crimes. It's pretty funny.
yeah, right. Well, everything's math. I'm curious, is everything math when it comes to parenting?
No. No,
No.
there's no math involved. I had full custody of my daughters since they were 9 when they were 9 and 11, and, I had
Mhm,
2 daughters, and I raised them kinda like boys, meaning I would pick on them, and they would pick on me, and like, I wanted them to be able to take it and to dish it out in a fun way. They're both funny. They're both super
mhm,
funny, and they're not mean. It's just being a little bit of a smartass,
Yeah.
yeah,
and having that so that when they get married or they're around guys, they can dish it out and they can take it, and, but, I think the goal in parenting is to, like for me, it was one, don't panic, right? And teach your kids rule number one is don't panic in any situation, right? You get a flat tire, let's have fun changing the tire,
I love
right?
that.
uh-huh,
Let's not think of it as a problem. Let's think of it as an opportunity to learn something on how to change a tire. My daughter had a flat tire in August and we were dripping sweat and we were busting up laughing because we couldn't get a lug nut off, right? But it was just fun, right? And
Yeah.
if they spill grape juice, well, you know what? That happens. Let's figure out how we can fix it, and not panicking can create if you realize that everything that happens is no big deal,
Mhm.
mostly, right? You get your arm chopped off, that's a different story. But other things, enjoying life and having fun and making light of situations to me is how I've raised them.
Aaron Bear has one rule, and he's taught me this to
mhm,
teach our children.
mhm,
So our kids know that the number one rule is have fun.
Right,
And that solves every
mhm,
problem. Let's
mhm,
say a kid draws on a crayon, on a wall with the crayon.
right,
And of course, he's having fun in the moment, but you ask them the question, well, as you're cleaning it, are we now having fun?
right, right,
So you can use it for anything, you
right.
know?
Or you
yeah,
could take that and draw more things around it,
right,
right?
Right?
yeah,
You could
mhm,
take it and
Yeah.
draw more things around it. Yeah, and that's
mhm,
why, I took my daughters to an improv comedy class, and we went there 3 or 4 times. My youngest daughter was kind of, more afraid of being up in front of people, but she did it, and my other daughter ended up being, the youngest person ever to be in that improv comedy troupe at
Hmm.
16.
mm,
And so,
mhm,
humor is been around our house, the whole time, and we laugh so much, and we give each other so much grief. It's pretty brutal.
ah,
It's
I
pretty
love it.
brutal, but it's
I
fun.
love it.
He
Yeah.
says it's brutal.
That's my love language as well.
It
Yeah, for
is,
sure.
yeah. If I'm
Mhm.
not making
Sarcasm.
fun of you, I probably don't like you. That's
Yeah,
kind of my rule.
right. Um, hey, so, Tom, I'm curious, what are you curious about? Like, what's next for you? What have you been learning about lately? What's been lighting you up recently?
Um, what's lighting me up is my clients and what I can do to help them make money. That's
Mm,
really what lights me up. And I used to write a lot of songs, and I love songwriting, but I'm just so busy I haven't had a chance to do that. And I have probably 100 ideas for songs. That writing songs really lights me up, but I'm too busy to. It takes a lot of work to write a good song. A lot of people don't realize
Hmm.
that, and I'm sure that many songs have been created and on the back of a napkin and been really good, but it's a puzzle, right? And it's a little bit of mathematics, right? With the rhyming schemes. And once you change one section, then that might change the meaning of this other section. So now you got to rewrite that.
Mm.
And that really lights me up, and helping people make money. I don't know why. It's just I really love doing that. And I've got a new client that I'm going to help him sell his business, and I think I'm going to create a lot of value for him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as it relates to the songwriting, I think that's similar to poker in the sense of like the more skilled you are, the luckier you
Hmm.
are. You know,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Jack White wrote Seven Nation Army because of a sound check.
I know.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
And then he wrote that down and then afterwards wrote that
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
stadium anthem.
Yeah.
But
It is crazy how that works.
yeah.
A lot of
It's
times my ideas come from conversations, and somebody will say something, and I go, what if they said it this way? That would be a cool
Yeah.
way to say that. And
mm,
I've
Yeah.
got some ideas like that I've got them down. Man, I can't get to them. And I
When
have a
you're
couple songs I've
songwri
written that I haven't recorded yet either. I just haven't had time.
Okay, and that leads into my question. When you're figuring out a song, when you have an idea on a song, is it a sentence? Is it a beat? Is it a lyric?
a
Like
smell.
a smell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
For me, it's typically a hook, right? And I'll give you one of the
Okay.
hooks, and if somebody steals it, I guess they steal it. But I was thinking of this. I'm going to go down drinking.
Mm,
And I
Oh.
like the idea of having titles that could mean 2 or 3 or 4 different things, right? And so
right.
it's the idea is that someone's
Mm,
gonna go down drinking, they're gonna go to the bar, or someone's gonna their whole life's gonna go down drinking, right?
right.
And there's other pieces to that, but the idea that there's several meanings to, it's like "Poor Me," right? That song called
Mm.
"Poor Me." It's meant to, be "Poor me and pour me another beer," right? And, but that's just an example of I don't know if I was thinking I'm gonna go get a drink or I'm gonna go down to drink, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go down drinking." That's a cool concept. And
It's
so for me, it's usually a hook like that where it's a phrase that you don't hear very often or you haven't heard before, but it's said in a different way.
Mm.
uh-huh.
I love that we just glossed over the fact that he's too busy to write and record songs 'cause he's too busy making all of his friends and clients so much money, you
Yeah.
know?
Let's write a
Yeah.
song on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like making other people money. I like to get divorced. So I have three ex-wives, so that's why I'm still working.
Got it. Got it.
You know
Well,
what they say, force the charm.
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
Tom, we ask everybody who comes on Extraordinary this. If you could give a piece of advice to our listeners from kind of the stuff that we've covered today, how they could live more extraordinarily like Tom, what would it be?
I think people always ask me about my bucket list, and I say I don't have one. And the reason I don't have one is that I do what I want to do. I don't, I don't, and it's not about having money or traveling to Europe or that type of thing. But to me, um, I look at it as, I go to, my mom lived in an old folks, I don't know what they call them now, but assisted living, or, we used to call them old
Hmm.
folks homes. But I look at that, and I have a song about that. I don't haven't written it yet, but an idea where it's like those. I think about those, and they feel like houses of regret to me. And
Mm,
people rarely regret the things that they did do. They regret the things they didn't do. And
mm,
if I really want to do something, I don't put it on a list and say I have a bucket list of 20 things. I just start doing it. Like writing songs,
mm,
right? I don't want to go, "Oh, I could have written great songs, or I could have done this, or I could have done that." And I started playing guitar at 52, and I watched people on stage, and I'm like, I feel like I could do better than that. And that to me is taking the first step of anything you want to do instead of talking
mm,
about it.
mm, mhm.
Embodiment.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly. And immerse
Mhm,
yourself into it, right? And you might
mhm,
find in 2 weeks you have no interest in it, but you might find that you have some skill or some affinity to learning about this and be good. And I think it was Jerry Garcia. Don't he said don't do what others do. Be the only one that does what you do.
Yeah.
mm,
And I'm not the only one that does what I do, but I think I do most things different.
mhm,
Mhm.
Um, and I'm myself, right? So on my business card, I'm wearing a hat. I'm bald. Not, I just always wear a hat, not because I'm bald, just
mhm,
because I like wearing hats. But, I have, on my LinkedIn, I have my guitar, me playing a guitar on my LinkedIn. And, that's who I am. I don't really care. And if you don't like it,
Yeah.
that's okay. Right. And I think it's important to figure out what your values are in life and live according to those values, not how other people are. Right. So if someone screws you over, what's your value system related to that? And if it's to go get them, then that's probably the wrong choice. But,
Mm-hmm.
don't let other people's values impact yours.
Do your
Mm-hmm.
own thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Authentic.
Hmm.
Extraordinary. Yeah. Wow. Well, we got so many more conversations we're going to have. You can read more about Tom Schneider at joinextraordinary.com. That's joinextraordinary.com. I'm Forbes Shannon.
I'm Christine Butler.
Tom Schneider. Thank you, man.
Thanks for
Poker
having me.
night at Forbes' house.
Yeah. Oh, well, hold on. I haven't got that much. Tom's going to take
Bring your own
everything.
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
We'll have to sit Tom and Liam at other ends of the
Yeah,
table.
That's fine as long as he has some cash or a credred card. I have a machine.
I have a
Oh,
machine.
all
I'm
right.
kidding.
Got
I
it.
love
Tell
it.
him.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks, Tom.
All right.
And to all our listeners, we'll see you guys next time.